The Cowboys made it to the divisional round last season for it all just to go up in flames in devastating but hilarious fashion. And I feel like we do this annually with the Cowboys, where we enter the season thinking this will be the year for it just not to be. But they had a strong offseason, and I'm ready to believe once again that this, in fact, can be the Cowboys' year. So let's go ahead and discuss. And what's crack-a-lackin'? Is your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse as we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to go over the coaching staff, the scheme, and the roster. But stick with me until the end of the video because I'm going to give you my prediction for the Dallas Cowboys in 2023. So without further ado, let's go ahead, get into this sucker with the coaching staff. Mike McCarthy, he's back again, once again, and he decided to say, hey, well, wasn't my fault, it was Kellen Moore's fault. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and take play calling duties. What about that? I don't know if that's going to fare well for Mike McCarthy. Actually, kind of a big problem with him there at the end of his head coaching job there with the Packers was, well, Aaron Rodgers did not like his play calling. He called it bland and pedantic. Yeah, not great. But they bring in Brian Schottenheimer. He was a coaching analyst last season for the Cowboys. There we go. And it's kind of a clash in styles because and it's kind of wild because Mike comes from Marty Schottenheimer, the Marty Schottenheimer coaching tree. He runs essentially this West Coast offense, and which is, for all intents and purposes, a horizontal passing game. And you bring in Brian Schottenheimer, who's more of this vertical guy coming that likes the air Coryell. He uses a lot of this inside zone, the play action. And I will say, dude, I think Schottenheimer is a very good play designer. I really do. And if you go back to at least his most recent gig as an OC there in Seattle, the gripes were the play calling. So now you have this nice little situation where Mike McCarthy will be the play caller while Schottenheimer will be the play designer. So this will be very interesting, especially since, again, I kind of said Mike McCarthy's play calling was kind of a bit of the bane of his existence at the end of his run with the Packers. But I'm kind of excited for Schottenheimer because I don't think he's too different from Kellen Moore in some regards. When they kind of scapegoated Kellen Moore here, they were like, well, we want to run the ball more. And I was going back and looking at Schottenheimer, his gig with as OC for the Seahawks compared to Kellen Moore, and they literally almost ran statistically the same run plays per season. It was exceptionally close. But then again, Mike McCarthy will be the play caller. So I don't know. That's going to be a very interesting dynamic there. So hey, I guess I'm all for it. The biggest surprise here was Dan Quinn deciding to stay because he probably could have got a head coaching gig somewhere, right? And a lot of people have this, let's just call it a conspiracy theory, that he does plan on getting a head coaching gig after this season by staying in Dallas. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. But in terms of what Dan Quinn brings, Dan Quinn is I have warmed up quite a bit to Dan Quinn because he is shown to be just very adaptable from his days with as a DC for the Seahawks, during his time with the Falcons as a head coach. They're working with Raheem Morris. to now what he's doing in Dallas. He's shown himself to be very adaptable. He's going to be playing this attacking 4-3 defense that wants to blitz. They were 13th last season in blitzing, but they're also very stunt heavy. And you were going to see cover 3. We're going to see Tampa 2, which is just inverted cover 3. So yeah, it's kind of this defense worked exceptionally well last season. And I just kind of like that adaptability from, like, if we're going to go back and take a look at Dan Quinn, like, he used to be like a solely highly reliant, heavy cover 3, Seattle 3, whatever the hell you want to call it, with the occasional like cover 1 man. Like if you go back to like 2021, like 61% of his calls were that. Was it 2021? Yeah, no, I guess it'd be 2021. But as like the year went on, he started dipping more into cover 2, Tampa 2. Again, it's not traditional cover 2. But he also dipped a little bit in quarters, and it was like, okay. He adopted elements from like 3-4 defenses that worked very well with Micah Parsons, as we've seen. And yeah, this cat has been in his tenure, like here with the Cowboys. I say in his tenure, he's been here for like a cup of coffee for this past season. But like, again, we saw that blitz rate was pretty high, and he wanted to utilize extra rushers when necessary. Like he's just a really good defensive coordinator. So it's going to be interesting, since he decided not to go out and find a head coaching job, probably because I guarantee someone would want to give him another shot. That maybe that someone might be Jerry Jones, but this does kind of feel like maybe the last stand for McCarthy. Being a Cowboys head coach, you kind of get a short leash, really. And I feel like, at least at this point, because this does feel like a team with a window. Like, I'm not saying this is just a 1-year window, but they've made some moves saying, hey, we need to be competing for a Super Bowl. Like, we should be in the NFC Championship game. Like, we should be challenging teams like the Eagles, who's in our division, and the Niners. And you'd be like, well, maybe we won one over the Eagles last season against Minshew Mania, and you almost lost to Minshew Mania. So, yeah, there are some humps and some mountains that they need to get over this year, and particularly offense, because we're gonna talk about Dak, how this may kind of fit in to what they want to do with him. And actually, I'm pretty excited because with Schottenheimer's scheme, you do see a lot of action for running backs out of the backfield. Because, like, hey, man, you can't keep going vertical, right? Eventually, like, they're gonna start covering it, and you're supposed to, like, supplement that with, okay, we're gonna just run the ball right up the middle, man. We're gonna make these guys respect the run game. We're also gonna hit maybe our checkdowns, or we're gonna get the halfback involved out of the backfield, make that defense have to come back in, and then just go for it over the top again. So, and I'm excited with like a guy like Tony Pollard. They went ahead and drafted. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Deuce Vaughn. I wanted to say Deshaun Vaughn so bad. Deuce Vaughn, who is just this electric player out in space. So, like, there is reason to be excited offensively here with the Cowboys. Though I am also a big fan of Kellen Moore, and I thought he operated a very good offense. I know Cowboys fans kind of feel different about that, or at least some Cowboys fans feel different about that, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead, get into this roster. But first, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is currently one of the most premier fantasy betting apps, and they got a best ball tournament with $15 million in cash prizes. So if you sign up at Underdog Fantasy using promo code Broshmo, they will match your first deposit up to $100. Remember, use promo code Broshmo when you sign up at Underdog Fantasy, and they will match that first deposit up to $100. News, we are knee deep in fantasy football draft season. There's not a better place to play fantasy football than Underdog Fantasy. But as always, my friends, bet responsibly. Let's go ahead, take a gander at this offense, as I have them as a top 10 unit. I mentioned in the intro of the video that they made some additions, and with probably the biggest one offensively. I need to get a new chair, dude. So squeaky. But the biggest one being Brandon Cooks, who has just been an 1,000-yard receiver wherever he goes. He's like a wandering samurai, man. Because whatever town he goes to, like, yeah, I'm going to get over 1,000 yards. I'm going to get some tutties, and I'm just going to kill it. I love it. Love it, love it. Gojo apparently loves it. But let's start this off by talking about, before we get to the weaponry, let's talk about Dak Prescott. Because it wasn't too long ago where we were like, this guy's like kind of a consistent top 10 quarterback in the league. And I'm not willing to move too far from that. I think he's a top 10 to top 12. Some people probably see him more of this middle tier. But if you like, I think last season he was a bit unlucky with some of his interceptions, but also he's always kind of put the ball in harm's way, whether it was like, maybe throwing to a window he shouldn't be, or just miscommunication on a route and just throwing it right to a defender. Like he has had these turnover worthy plays over the course of his career. It's just they haven't really turned into interceptions, not until last season, where he had 17 over the whole season, playoffs included. So it's like it's the same turnover worthy play rate that he is kind of always had. It was in this 20 range. It's just typically he's throwing 11, 9 interceptions, so he's low on the interceptions. Last year he kind of hit the the high on that, where, okay, no, most of these turnover worthy passes that I normally throw, they're turning into interceptions. They're turning into turnovers. So a bit unlucky. We'll say the big time throw rate was down for him. I think part of that though was, again, I don't want to put this on Kellen Moore. I don't think he necessarily had the horses to really take advantage of the vertical game, as you had like Michael Gallup coming back from injury, so him having to get like eased into the process. They just didn't have guys that could attack vertical, while CeeDee Lamb, he's just this threat all over the field. But you want to utilize that cat in the slot. You really, really do. So like they didn't really take too many shots downfield. Like only 50 attempts last season over the course of the year, and included the playoffs. But he was very good when he took those shots. 48% adjusted completion rate. And some of y'all, if y'all are just, because I just did the Seahawks video yesterday, you probably be like, oh man, okay, so he was on Geno's level. Nah. Geno threw like 30 more passes of 20 yards or more, and did it with like 8% more in terms of his completion percentage. So Geno was ridiculous, but Dak has shown, he's exceptionally competent when attacking deep. So like, okay, so Schottenheimer, this should be right up his alley. But again, you need the horses available to be able to take advantage of that. And I think that they do. They have that. They brought in Brandon Cooks. He is that. He is speed personified. Oh, hey, Gojo. Gojo coming in. You want to talk Cowboys, buddy? Come up here and talk Cowboys. Wait, you don't want to come up here? Come on. You at least want to say hi to the people, Gojo? All right, buddy. Good talk. So he gets Brandon Cooks. That's a huge addition. Michael Gallup, another year. Again, I mean, it takes time. I think it was the ACL, right, with Gallup. So he was just coming back, middle of last season, right? week 5? Week 4. Okay, so it was like early part. He was like quarter into last season. So, but yeah, man, he just didn't produce last year. Just didn't produce. So you're hoping another year removed from that, because they paid him, man. I mean, they paid him money to be effective, and you're kind of hoping to get 2019, 2020 Michael Gallup, and not the guy who got hurt like halfway through 2021 and who just didn't kind of look like the same player. So you're kind of hoping he takes that next step up. But I mean, he between Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb, yeah, he's kind of going to be the third option. You can even make a case Tony Pollard coming out of the backfield, which I talked about this offense. Schematically, at least, they're going to want to take advantage of their backs coming out of the backfield. Tony Pollard, fun fact, extremely good last season. Almost had 400 receiving yards. Only 3 forced missed tackles. But, I mean, this is a guy that can run away from people. So, doesn't surprise me the missed tackle rate was actually a little lower on the receptions. But then you also have Deuce Vaughn, who could do that. So, it's like, yeah, you're feeling you're in a really good spot. You have your yak target there in CeeDee Lamb, who had 16 forced missed tackles last season. So someone who he's just a winner. He's just a ball winner wherever he is on the field. Contested catch rate was solid too at 46.7%. Again, that's not elite. That's not high end. That's just, you look at that and be like, hell yeah, that's a good number. I like that. They do lose Dalton Schultz. But Jake Ferguson, I thought, showed flashes last season that made me feel very encouraged about, like, a lot of people actually had Dalton Schultz as a comp for Jake Ferguson. So, I mean, I think we could be in Jake Ferguson season. So we'll see. I think that's going to be pretty darn fun, pretty darn interesting to watch. They did draft Luke Schoonmaker in the 2nd round, which I thought was a little bit high, but I get he's a really good athlete. I liked Peyton Hendershot. I thought he was solid as a tight end 3 last season. So, like, the tight end depth's kind of good. And you're looking at those 3 guys like, well, one of these guys are going to, like, be the guy. So, but you feel good about all of them. So, like, offensively, the weapons are there. There's just so much talent on this squad for Dak Prescott. If he does go down, we could get into the depth real quick here. If he does go down, hey, Cooper Rush to the rescue. Will Grier, man. Will Grier. I had I think a day 3 grade when he came out of West Virginia. I liked him. Was it West Virginia? I think it was West Virginia. Not day 3, day 2 grade. I liked him, and yeah, nothing. Just has done nothing. Looking at the depth that they have at wide receiver, Semi Fehoko, maybe he gets a little bit more in the passing game this season. I don't believe that he will with the addition of Brandon Cooks, but he's been a very good special teamer for him. They're probably hoping to get more than they did out of Jalen Tolbert last year, but he's had apparently a very good camp. Kevontae Turbin, he's a special teamer. He's a return guy. So yeah, those are probably guaranteed, probably the 6 guys. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because they have a couple of UDFAs that I actually really like. Jalen Cropper coming out of Fresno State. Built probably, like, he's thin, built more for the slot game. He also brings return ability, and his yak ability was really good there. So maybe depending on how they feel about Turbin, man, maybe you hold on to Gallup. I don't know. That might be something interesting. Or Cropper just goes to the practice squad. Jalen Brooks brings good size, but he's not like he's a possession guy, big body target. No one really of note, I would say. David Durden coming out of was it West Florida, I think? Or maybe it was West Carolina. I can't recall now, but he's an older receiver. His name was floated around a bit. Probably practice squad. Probably going to be playing football somewhere else. But yeah, Dontario Drummond. Big problem with him is not the fastest guy, not the most explosive guy, but someone who is a smooth athlete and is very good at after the catch. But you kind of get more of a, like, he kind of feels like a running back playing a receiver from him. But yeah, no, if I'd say probably these 6 guys make it. Cropper probably is the outside chance there. That'd be interesting. Sean McKeon. I mean, they have a couple of guys there that could challenge for tight end 4. Princeton, Fant. Oh, where was that? I want to say Princeton. It ain't Princeton though. I can't. It's Tennessee. That's right. Tennessee. So vaguely watched him last season. Couldn't tell you too much. Looking at the backup running back, like, we'll talk about the offensive line in a second, but because the offensive line, I think they're in good shape. But it's going to be interesting to see who ends up being running back 2. Part of me thinks Deuce Vaughn, but I mean, like, they probably want a big body. They probably want a big body running back, because I mean, like, what's Tony Pollard at? Like, it's not like he's huge. He's 209, 6 foot 209. So, like, they're probably gonna want a thick back. Then again, they got Hunter Lupke. You list him at running back, man, you're gonna line that guy at fullback. They could go full set of West Coast, Gulf Coast offense with Lupke, but if you don't know, like, unfamiliar with that reference, like, go watch, like, South Florida. They kind of do a Gulf Coast offense there, where it's like they'll line up the fullback in the backfield, but still kind of have like the spread of a West Coast offense. And they will try to run the ball effectively that way. I mean, to be fair, I think we saw some of that with the Air Coryell offense. Like, but this was back in the day, man. You can't imagine that same stuff would work. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll see. We'll figure it out together. So the big question is, who is going to be the backup here? As Malik Davis, they have listed as running back 3. I mean, he didn't do much last season. Let's see what are the preseason totals right now, or what's the preseason workload look like? That's actually what I'm kind of curious about, because I mean, Deuce Vaughn, they're gonna draw plays up for that cat. I ain't worried about that. Wow, Deuce Vaughn's actually right up there in terms of carries. Rico Dowdle he has the fumble, but he currently has the most attempts, like purely Russian attempts. I mean, the dude is 215. Malik Davis, he's smaller back, so it's probably gonna go, if they want more like bigger size when Pollard comes off the field, it's gonna be Dowdle, and then Deuce Vaughn if they want to get really, really fun. I don't know. Lupke's kind of an interesting cog in all this, but luckily they're going to be running behind one hell of an offensive line. I know Tyron Smith, he can't stay healthy. Like, worst case scenario, Tyler Smith moves to left tackle where he played last season and did so exceptionally freaking well. I thought he looked much better than you would anticipate from a rookie. You're kind of hoping Terrence Steele can stay healthy. He's back on a 1-year deal, but I gotta imagine he's gonna get a good payday after this season, whether it's with the Cowboys or with another squad. They don't have Connor McGovern. I think he went to Buffalo. But yeah, that's where they have Tyler Davis replacement. So they don't really have a guard replacement. And they're right now going through it with Zach Martin. I'm sure he's going to play this year, but he's looking for a new contract. But yeah, no, like Zach Martin, you could say maybe he's lost a step or two, but the dude's still like a top 5 guard in the league. Maybe some of these younger guns are starting to overtake him. Tyler Biotish is fine. If this cat's the worst guy on your offensive line, you're probably in good shape. But yeah, the question is with Tyron Smith, how much exactly are you going to get from him next season? Can he stay healthy? Another guy just at the probably near the tail end of his career. But yeah, if these are your consistent starters throughout the year, then you're going to be feeling really good about that offensive line. I actually have that offensive line ranked. Where's my rank for it? Pulling it up right now. I have it ranked. Whoa. Get this out of the way. Yeah, overall a top 10 unit. So, yeah. Looking at the depth on this offensive line, and it's not great, really. Like you have like Matt W. I'm not gonna butcher his name, but a guy who had traits, who had tools that you're hoping to develop, and so we don't really know what you got in him. What was his? I'm kind of curious. What was his snap count last season? Nothing. Got it. Regardless, some of the developed but still kind of unproven. Chuma Doga was someone that I really like as a depth guy, swing tackle. So I'm cool with that, but like it's not like high end 6-man type, you know. They did draft a Sim Richards who did play tackle for North Carolina. A lot of people kind of thought he might profile better as a guard, but he probably could play tackle in a pinch. But then again, you probably still have Matt W. and Adoga up front of him. Earl Bostick is someone that I really like. Probably doesn't make the roster, probably goes to the practice squad, but someone who could probably develop into a very quality player, maybe fringe starter down the line. They have Matt Farnoik, who took all of 200 snaps last season, looked not great. So that's kind of why he's down, falling down on the depth chart. Josh Ball's been around here feels like for longer than that, but someone who you kind of hope develop. They have him at guard. Isn't he 6'7"? He's 6'8". It's even worse. Having him at guard. Why you gotta have a tall guards like that? It's man, you thought he struggled with leverage on the outside. You gotta throw him on the inside, and good luck, Godspeed. Brock Hoffman, I actually really liked out of, I think it was Virginia Tech, if I'm remembering that correctly, because he looked pretty good at the Shrine Bowl back in 2022. So low key, man, I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to see what they got in him. Maybe I'll check out a couple of preseason games, see what kind of work he's been doing. But it's not extraordinary depth here on the offensive line. All in all, you want and you kind of need your stars to stay healthy. But I have them as a, wrong one, top 10 unit nonetheless. Let's go ahead, get to this defense. I have them as a top 5 unit. Listen, the coaching's good. The talent everywhere is phenomenal. So this team, they went out, got Brandon Cooks, and essentially did that on the defensive end with Stephon Gilmore. Huge pickup there in the secondary. I absolutely love it. You're taking some of that pressure off of Trevon Diggs. And I mean, honestly, Dan Quinn, he's hey, go out there and just be playmakers. Just turn the tides of this game. And having Diggs not necessarily have to cover the number 1 all the time is kind of huge. Gilmore, the guy feels timeless, man. He was good for the Colts last season, so kind of wild. He's just still playing at what I don't even know what his age is at this point. There we go. Stephon Gilmore, you are, I want to say he's 32. Hey, nailed it. 32. So you got to love that. I have Deron Bland playing in the slot. Jordan Lewis will miss, I think, potentially the first 4 games. Currently still on the pub, but the pup, I don't know why I say pub. Maybe I want to go to the pub. But I thought Bland was really good last season when they had him in. I mean, he played a bulk of the year. I don't see why he wouldn't be the starter. Looking at the secondary, they dished out some money from Malik Hooker. They showed, oh no, guys, we do care about the safety position. Don't get it twisted. So they doled out some money to keep and retain Hooker. I have Donovan Wilson as the starter in the box. But, I mean, he had the second most snaps on the team last season. But this is a team that, keep in mind, they're going to be running a lot of 3 safety sets. When they do play that cover 2, that Tampa 2, they put in a linebacker to play mid. That is just not happening. It's just not happening. So they're going to bring in like Jaron Kearse, who another guy like low key is kind of timeless at this point, whether it's him dropping in coverage or playing around the box. Like this guy is such a sure tackler. And I mean, isn't he like 220 anyway? So it kind of should be a sure tackler at that size. Oh, he's down to 215. I thought he was playing weight was like 225. Well, maybe I had that twisted, but so I'm expecting 3 safety sets when they do go to their like sub packages and those Tampa 2, or they're gonna have. I mean, again, you could scheme it in different ways where you don't necessarily need a 3rd safety on the field, but I think they rather would. Looking at the depth that they have there in the secondary, specifically, big fan of Deron Bland. Again, have him starting over Jordan Lewis. I don't think Lewis is long for this roster after this season. Could also say, don't exactly recall what his contract looks like. I thought him and Anthony Brown were both going to be free agents, but maybe I just had the contract wrong for Lewis. Let's take a look at this. 3 year, 13.2 million. Okay, yeah, he's gone after this season, so. Okay, oh, he was a potential cut last season, but they chose to retain him. Okay, so yeah, he's gone after this year. At corner, they drafted Eric Scott Jr. out of Southern Miss. Couldn't tell you a ton about him. I just could say that a lot of the talking heads around the draft really liked him. So it doesn't surprise me he's out here challenging Kelvin Joseph, Nahshon Wright, who were day 2 picks back in 2021 that have literally done a lot of nothing, and it doesn't look like that they will, though Kelvin Joseph kind of has the bigger upside. They got, who else they got over here? Corner. Wow, their corner position's not like studded. Miles Brooks, I liked out of Louisiana Tech, but he's a UDFA. So, yeah, not entirely deep, but I mean, you look at like, okay, you have a 6th rounder there that you really like, and then behind that, you do have 2 former day 2 picks. They were day 2 picks for y'all for a reason. I thought Kelvin Joseph, was a day 2 pick, but Nahshon Wright I had as a 7th rounder. I thought I was like, okay, he's tall and lengthy, but he ain't explosive or nothing. Unless he put hands on somebody, he ain't gonna be running with them. But it is what it is. Israel Mukwamu made the transition from corner to safety while in college. They're at South Carolina, and I'm very curious to see how he has progressed. But I think there could be a chance where that safety, that backup safety spot might be challenged by Marquise Bell, who was coming out of Florida A&M, who I really, really liked, but he was at his best at Florida A&M when he was coming in, playing in the box or playing in the slot. So someone who could, like, honestly, I think he's probably got more slot. No, that might not be true. I'm going to say might have more slot ability than Mukwamu, but I don't know. That'll be interesting. We'll see. Juanye Thomas was what, a converted, or wasn't he? I'm trying to remember. Was he converted linebacker? No, he was playing box safety back at Georgia Tech. More of a special teamer, Sheldrick Redwine. He's kind of just been a journeyman special teamer at this point in his career. But you have 3 very good safeties with an interesting little battle there, maybe for safety 4. And yeah, like all in all, man, secondary group is just, I think, going to be phenomenal this year. Going to the linebacker position, Leighton Vander Esch was actually very good last season. I mean, no, this isn't like early year Vander Esch, but after the neck injury, like, yeah, he's not the same player, but it's good to see that he's still coming in and being a solid starter. So that's really nice to see. Damone Clark stepped up last season. A lot of people didn't think he was going to actually even play much, and he ends up playing over 400 snaps because he was coming off was it a spine injury? I can't recall off the top of my head, but that's why he ends up falling in, where do they take him? The 4th? 5th? He falls to the 5th round after a lot of people had him as a day 2 guy. But yeah, no, he played exceptionally well once given the opportunity. They did draft DeMarvion Overshown. I'm kind of more curious if that's someone that they end up developing his body, because he's kind of a pterodactyl, just unfortunately he's very thin. And though last season for Texas he did a good job holding up in the run game, for the most part, that is something that's been a huge struggle, whether it's missed tackles or taking on blockers. So someone I don't expect to play this season. If anything, Jabril Cox, I would love to see Jabril Cox play a bit more. I think he had great coverage ability. So I'm kind of curious if that's something maybe that they tap into on sub packages. But yeah, he had his rookie year had the nasty ACL injury, and I don't know what really happened last year for him, but kind of curious. Malik Jefferson, journeyman at this point. Devin Harper, sounds familiar. I want to say it's like a Virginia Tech or West Virginia, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Oklahoma State. Oh, okay, that rings a few bells. But again, couldn't tell you much about him. But all in all, like, your starting 2 linebackers, I think, are solid. It's not like a top 10 unit, but I think it's somewhere in the middle there. They're solid. So got to feel good about that. Looking at the defensive line, the big addition here being Mozzie freaking Smith. They get that space eater in the middle, because Cowboys for a long time kind of had a very mediocre like run defense. Very mediocre. While it's like you could get by with mediocre run defense like in the NFL, but like you could kind of tell after their addition of like a Stephon Gilmore is like, oh, okay, that's why a lot of people started mocking Mozzie Smith at the back end to the Cowboys, because they were like, hey, this is kind of an area where the Cowboys can get like better. Mozzie Smith, he brings that girth, but like also like we didn't really get to see his testimony. We know he could he was number 1 in Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Like we know this guy's a really good athlete at his size. Like this dude can pursue guys to the sideline. So it's like, you love it. The pickup made sense. They signed Jonathan Hankins. So it's like, obviously they had in mind that they wanted to get better at this. Like, they want to get better at having these just guys that can create pileups in the middle. They weren't content with Quinton Bohanna there on the interior as a space eater. So they bring in Hankins, but it's like Smith's gonna be the guy, and I'm very intrigued. Osa Odigizua, I was a big fan of his coming out of UCLA. He's that penetrator. How many snaps did he play last season? Played over 700. Love to see it. And honestly, he was solid. He's more pass rusher than he is run defender. And Jolly all, man. Jolly all? Huh? What the hell is that mean? I don't know. But no, he's good. Neville Gallimore really hasn't developed into much of anything. And honestly, like, would be shocked if Chauncey Golston doesn't challenge him there on the interior. I don't know. We'll talk about the interior depth in a second. DeMarcus Lawrence, still a monster. Micah Parsons, yeah, no, the dude's like one of the best edge rushers in football. Still a monster. He had 106 pressures last season, 15 sacks. Disgusting. Where was DeMarcus Lawrence at? Okay, 59 pressures, but 7 sacks, so not half bad. I think, wasn't he coming back from injury? Nah, because I don't think he missed a game at all. Can't recall. This is why I need to take notes like throughout the season, and I will next year. But should have done a better job taking notes this year. But regardless, like DeMarcus Lawrence, really good edge too, especially what he can do in the run game and just blow plays up in the backfield. Micah Parsons sounds like he's specifically just going to be solely a edge player. Not that he wasn't last season, but he was still seeing he was still dropping back into coverage at times. He had 76 coverage snaps. Did have a pass breakup. Love to see it. Looking at the depth, and we'll just continue with the interior here. I won't be shocked if Chauncey Golston, who's kind of this like he was kind of maybe like a 4-3 type who could kick inside. Kind of curious, what is he up to right now size wise? Yeah, see, 268. So I mean, do you really usurp Gallimore at that point? But I mean, he was solid in the few snaps he saw last year. He had just under 300. Yeah, I mean, maybe you make a case for the 4th rounder, Viliami Fehoko, that could also kick inside. Like, the guy's just got a big body. It's coming in at 6'4", 267, but golly, he feels so much bigger than that. He really, really does. Looking at the edge group, Sam Williams looked really good as this rotation edge rusher last season. 22 pressures, 4 sacks. Did that on only 192 snaps. Dorrance Armstrong's more of this early down defender when on the field, but he's been solid for them. 43 pressures and 9 sacks is nothing to scoff at. So they got a good rotation there. They also bring in Dante Fowler, who is many years removed from getting that big contract from, was it Atlanta? Or was it, I think it was Atlanta. Or was it the Rams? No, he had the breakout year with the Rams, I think. Regardless, I think in this role where he just gets to be really like good depth, that's phenomenal. Ben Banagou, don't expect him to make the roster. He really hasn't been able to do much in the NFL after being drafted by Indianapolis as more of a developmental guy. They list Isaiah. Oh, wow, that's so interesting. They're listing Isaiah Land as an edge rusher, which, I mean, shouldn't shock me. This guy tore it up at Florida A&M, right? For like 2 years. But look at that size. So, I mean, I guess it's like, okay, learn under Micah Parsons, but he's not the freak Micah Parsons is. So that's interesting. I thought like he would be exclusively probably an off-ball linebacker. Darryl Johnson coming out of Liberty. Tyrus Wheat coming out of Mississippi State. Those guys likely practice squad players. But that's a hell lot of depth we just kind of talked about on this defensive line. Should be no surprise why I have them as a top 5 unit. They made all the right investments this offseason, going out, getting Stephon Gilmore, and then add in Mozzie Smith, bringing in Jonathan Hankins, being like, hey, let's try to get better up the middle. Let's try to kind of solidify our run defense with these big body upside guys. So good on them. Let's go ahead, get to the reason why you're here, to my predictions for the Dallas Cowboys in 2023. And I got them going 10-7, and I feel exceptionally low on them. I don't feel low on them. I feel like my prediction is very low bar because like this team probably feels like that they should be a 12-win team. Feels like that they should be contended for the NFC 1 seed. Really, really, really does. What were they last season? They were 12-5, so they probably should be in that same ballpark. So yeah, I guess I'm feeling a little lower on them at 10-7. So, but I mean, I have them making a playoff run. I think at this point they would have been kicked out of the divisional round once again. So I have them going to the divisional round. But let's go with the game by game. What's their over under is 9.5. I think they clear that easy. I would bet the over on their win total. I have them split in the division 3-3. So very likely I'm going to have them winning the home games against their division rivals and then losing the away games. So have them losing the Giants early on. This Jets game, it'll be interesting. It's in Dallas though, so I could definitely see Dallas winning that. Cardinals, no Kyler Murray, no problem. Got them beating the Patriots. You got to travel to San Fran, and honestly, this game is still kind of up in the air for me. I mean, it went down to the wire in the division in last season in the divisional round. Just had a couple of errant throws by Dak, and should have never put Zeke at center. It's kind of been memed out of existence. I mean, that's kind of a tough slate there. A couple of road games prior to your bye, having to travel to the stadium formerly known as Candlestick, going to SoFi to face the Chargers. So, like, those are two very, very good teams, and just it's going to be tough to play there. They get the bye, they get the Rams, so might have a cupcake. I mean, everyone and their mom's down on the Rams, but like offensively, I think they could still produce if they can stay healthy. It's just the defense is kind of dog water. It's kind of carried by Aaron Donald at this point. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, split in division games. Got you beating the Panthers. Beating the Seahawks. So hey. And beating the Bills. So don't say I didn't give y'all quality wins. Fins up, baby. Have my Dolphins win in there in Miami. Dolphins kind of have to win down the stretch. I don't think I had the Dolphins making the playoffs either. Got y'all beating Detroit. Having y'all beat Detroit down the stretch, that's kind of a big win. So like all in all, man, I'm kind of curious, where did I have them schedule wise? What is their strength of schedule? And I do this according to my projections, nobody else's. In terms of strength of schedule, they are 14th toughest in the league. So they're kind of like middle of the road there. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like 10 wins is low. Maybe it should have been at the very least 11. But I could see this team winning 12 games again. Like, they're better than they were last season. Well, the schedule, the opponents may be a little tougher. I think they can make it work, but that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.